Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Tool Show with me, Master Dan, the Journeyman shooter. And today we're going to be having one of our weekly coffee time segments, and I didn't get to do a couple the last couple days, so I figured we'd do another one here and try to get something good going. But today, the coffee time segment, what we're going to be talking about is a product of your environment. Now, my dad always kind of said this, that no matter where you are, whatever you're doing, you're going to be a product of that environment. So if you're in a negative environment, that's what you're going to be. You're going to be the negative and all the other stuff, but you got to try to get out of that and move on to better places, because that's what you got to do. You can't just kind of sit there and expect things to change if nothing's going to happen, because you're just kind of sitting around. Now, getting some weird lights, so I'm going to try to turn and get a better light here and see what we can do. And it's a gorgeous night, so Calgary's looking beautiful, and that's why I figured I'd come out here and just kind of do a quick talk here, because I know that's what's been happening kind of lately. Is a couple of my friends, they've been saying the exact same thing, is like they're kind of down and out. And I do a lot of work with people where I volunteer and mentor and kind of help people that are usually not in like the best places in their lives sometimes, because that's usually the people that are asking for the help, and which is good for them, because those people, if they have actually realized that you've got to ask for help when you need it, because you can't just always kind of sit there and expect things to change, because that's not how the world works. You have to actually change your situation and try to get out there and do something better. Because I know where I come from, like, there was a lot of gangs and there was a lot of violence and problems and stuff like that, and you get put into those situations yourself when you're a part of that. Because if you see something, if you do something, or if you don't do something, then you're an accessory. Then there's a whole bunch of different things. Because I know personally I've been put in some weird situations where it's just extremely dangerous. There's been, I don't know, people around me that I love them as friends. They're great people, but you just got to kind of get away from them sometimes, because they're putting themselves in some pretty crazy situations, and that's not good, because you don't need that. And I know especially like back home, there was a lot of dangerous things where I remember one time my dad even warned me about it. There was two of my friends, his friend actually told him about it. It's perfect. I'm going to try to turn here and get a better view, but his friend actually told him about it, where two of my friends were involved in somebody robbed them and then stole a whole bunch of stuff, so they went and robbed the other guy back, and then now the guy wanted to kill both of them, so he sent a whole team of hitmen to take out my friends. And my dad told me about this because his friend told him about it, and he said be careful who you stand around that night, because there could be people around. So luckily I just gave my buddies a warning and kind of got out of there, because that's not something you want to do. You can't sit around and just wait for that kind of thing to happen. You got to keep moving. And it's just like in the oil patch when we were out there, we had a lot of people that were they're really nice people, but then they get out in the middle of nowhere and you lose the manners and the respect that you kind of had before, and you got to keep that the same thing as if you're in the city. And it's just kind of an important lesson to know, because especially you're a product of that environment, and where you are is what you're going to get. So if you're down and you're out, you can't just go and look for more people that are down and out. And because I don't know if there's a doctor in the city or somebody that's telling everybody this, but because a couple of my friends have kind of said the same thing, but like when they said the doctor or whoever says you shouldn't isolate yourself from your friends, but if there is a problem with your friends where your friends are one of the ones that are causing you to do bad things or put yourself in crazy stupid situations, sometimes you gotta, as I drop my coffee and all the other stuff and my thing broke, but so that's where I'm going with that, is you just want to make sure you're separating yourself from the bad, because that's, I know I was, especially like we lived right across from Detroit. Sorry, I'm just fixing my camera. And tonight's coffee is actually really good. It's the night shift, so I'm working late tonight, and I haven't been able to film one the last couple days here, so I figured I'd do one tonight where it's just a talk, but it's a delicious coffee, even though I spilt it all over the ground. But it's a peanut butter cup coffee that my mom ended up buying for me, and it's absolutely amazing. So I love it when my mom sends me my care packages, and that's one of the good things. But we came from Detroit, and like it was the Detroit area, and I went to school in Windsor, Ontario, which was awesome because it was a great place to live. Like you could take a shuttle bus across to the Tigers games or go do whatever, hockey games. Like there was a big casino in the city. There was a lot going on, and Windsor was a great place to live, but it was 19 drinking age in Windsor and it was 21 in Detroit. So people would come across the border every weekend to go party in Windsor, and I'd be stuck there like in the middle of some dangerous situations, because a lot of the time when people come across from Detroit, they're part of different gangs or different other things, and then they put themselves in those situations where now they're fighting somebody else, and then it gets into a crazier thing, and you just got to avoid that. And I know I'll always remember I was studying for my second year electrical exam in Ontario, which I ended up rating all of it, and then moved out to Alberta and found out none of it counted, which was kind of crazy. But so coming back to that is I was rating my test, and I remember looking out the window and hearing two guys argue, and it was just a bad situation because I couldn't focus on the test. There was people yelling outside the window, and I kind of went out to the window to go look and see what was going on, and then sure enough, these two guys are arguing out there, and one guy pushes the other and the other one just takes off running, and I didn't know what was going on, and I seen him run, and then all of a sudden the other guy pulled out a gun, and something happened. But that's one of the main reasons I moved from Ontario, is because I didn't want to be around those kind of situations where you're putting yourself in danger, because especially if you say you saw something, then those people are going to come after you and kill you because they have crazy gangs there. It's just dangerous, and especially that's your product of the environment that you're in. If you put yourself in the danger gang territory, or you don't know any better than to be in an area you shouldn't be at a bad time, then you've put yourself in that situation, and you're now a product of that environment. Something could go wrong, and it's nobody to blame but yourself, because you just got to walk away sometimes and get out of there. And I remember a few times we stopped in Detroit to go see a couple friends, and the friends told us to wait in the car because we weren't allowed to come into these places that they had to go to because it was dangerous. If they had to go pick somebody up and they told you to wait in the car, you waited in the car. And even then, you should be careful, because you're putting yourself in these situations. But there's been some crazy times where we were stuck in Detroit at 11 o'clock at night and no way to get back across the border, and it's just, how do you get back? You're a product of that situation, so now you're stressed. Your life is a lot more difficult than it would be if you just kind of got out, went for a walk, instead of going out and doing something crazy or dangerous. Or if somebody wants you to go join in on something that's gonna maybe make a quick buck but it isn't legal, then that's part of the problem. You're part of that environment, and it's not just a one-time only thing, because as soon as you make a little bit of money and think, oh, here it is, then you're going to just keep going and taking more money. And it's just what it is. You've got to be careful. You got to know that environment, because if you're hanging around with people that are all depressed all the time, and it's just a sad life, everything's not going their way, nothing's going good, nothing's going positive, you're going to be that way, because you're going to think, oh, well, nothing can happen for me. And then when something does happen good for you, those people are going to be upset because they're not part of it. They didn't do anything to deserve that, I guess. And then they get upset, and it just is a circle of life basically with those people. So you got to be very careful, and you want to just make sure you're doing the right thing and being smart. So other than that, that's kind of where we were getting at today. Is my dad always said it, you're a product of your environment, and if you want to be something special, you got to find those special people. It's just like mentoring. You've got to find the right mentor for you, because I'm not the right mentor for everybody. I know I once in a while will say something that is the truth, but it's not something that everybody wants to hear sometimes, and it's tough because you're walking a fine line, especially when you mentor somebody. You aren't going to know everything, and that's why it takes multiple mentors to really make a community proper, or make a person at least proper, because it's important. If you have 4 or 5, like me personally, I have some at the Shaw Studios where they teach me how to work the cameras and all the other stuff. I have mentors at the sponsorship that teach me the business side of this. And then I've had mentors over the years like master electricians, master tradesmen, people that have come from all over the world that have studied some of the best in the world, the best lessons you can imagine. So that's why it's important to find those proper people and just kind of keep rolling with that. So for Tool Show, I'm Master Dan, the Journeyman shooter. Now get out there, find yourself a positive environment, and make it better.